Do we need translations into various languages today? I don't recognize everybody in the room. Everyone speaking English? Yes. Okay, well, if we do need a translation into Portuguese or French or Russian or whatever it is, I'm sure we have a few devotees to help out there. Maori? You okay? No need. Karen is one of those special souls from Maori background, New Zealand. There are a few. We have several Maori devotees in New Zealand. Very spiritually inclined people, actually, the Maoris. They have a deep spiritual, you could say, root. Connected, in fact, they say it is connected originally to the Vedic culture. Ye anilo premadana Kuruna pacho Ye anilo premadana Kuruna pacho Hino Prabhu Kota Kilacharya Sako Hino Prabhu Kota Kilacharya Sako Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaviraja Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kaviraja Raghunatha Patita Pavan. Be a little patient when you start the next line. We're coming in too early. There's no rush. Kahamara Bhatta Yuga Kaviraja Kahamara Bhatta Yuga Kaviraja Ekakale Kotagela Goranatara Ekakale Kotagela Goranatara. Be a little bit patient, please, coming on the next line. Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Goranga Guna Nadi Kota Gele Pavo Goranga Gunera Nidi Kota Elevavo Sesaba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Bila Sesaba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Bila Se Sangana Paya Kandena Tamada Se Sangana Paya Kandena Tamada Yeyanilo Premadana Corona Pacho Kehanilo Premadana Corona Pacho Eno Prabhokota Kelacharya Sako Eno Prabhu Kota Kelacharya Kamara Swarupa Krsnadasa Maharaja Krsnadasa Krsnadasa Raghunatha Patita Krsnadasa Raghunatha Patita Kahamora Bhatta Kaviraja Kahamora Bhatta Kaviraja Ekakale Kotagela Gora Nataraj Ekakale Kotagela Gora Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Janananda Thakur ki. This song which is traditionally sung on the disappearance day of our acharyas. Disciplic succession, the gurus, sometimes it's sung on the disappearance day of various devotees who are sincere followers of those great acharyas also. But particularly, because the verse refers here to, is a song by Narottam Thakur, and he's bitterly, in one sense, we could use the word bitter in one sense, in another sense it's an absorption in another form of separation, an ecstatic experience of feeling close association with the devotees of the Lord in separation, but it's painful bliss or blissful pain. I don't know if there's such an experience in this world, but blissful pain of separation. So much so he feels like smashing his head against a rock. Most of the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have left this world, and he's bitterly lamenting their absence, lamenting he was not present in their pastimes also. So in this song especially, he's lamenting the separation from the Goswamis, including Kaviraja Goswami, and his close associate Ramchandra, and of course his own spiritual master Raghunatha Goswami, Srinivas, and other great personalities who are either his contemporaries or his gurus directly or through Siksha. So this is the greatest, according to Ramananda Roy, who the personality who Narottam didn't have any association with, but Ramananda Roy was a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya, when discussing with Ramananda Roy what is the greatest pain, he said, I know no greater pain than to be separated from the association of devotees. This is the most unbearable pain. well, maybe I had to bear all kinds of material torments. But the separation from the pure devotees of the Lord, there is nothing more painful. We may not have experienced that pain because maybe we haven't really associated with them sufficiently. We haven't really understood the value or the depth of that association to feel the pain of separation. In one sense, one has to have, to feel the separation, one has to feel some presence with that which we're separated from. Otherwise, it's just an aspiration of some kind. So today we have the wonderful opportunity. We can't measure the good fortune of this privilege today that we have the opportunity to hear a little bit, at least to meditate upon, to pray to three eternal associates of the Lord who appeared in this world out of their causeless mercy, to give their association, to give their example and instructions for all of us to associate with. We hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam on two separate occasions, at least in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj and in the words of Jad Bharat, how is it that one attains this unique state of realization or spiritual Krishna conscious liberation? How do we attain that state? And in both cases they described it. One has to smear the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees all over oneself. And that means we have to be absorbed in following in their footsteps, hearing about them, following the path which they've chalked. Mahajana yena kataksa panta. We have to follow in the footsteps of these great souls. This is how we smear the dust. You can literally do it if the chance arises. The dust of the pure devotees, the remnants of the pure devotees, and the water, the foot water, the water that's washed their lotus feet, the Charanamrit. These three substances are very powerful. Any one of them can actually awaken love of Godhead. So today we can hear about them. Krishna willing, Krishna wills. And if they will, and if you will. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Anvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Panamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Vanchakapatubhyascha Kripasindhuvyevacha Panam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnubhadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesha Sanyavari Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear devotees, today. And there's very little time to speak on these personalities. We'll just briefly try to recollect a few of their, say, unlimited glories. Of the three, normally we focus predominantly on Raghunatha Das Goswami. Many of you have read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. How many of you have read the Chaitanya Charitamrita entirely, from beginning to end? 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. One other. Not so many of us. I think you've read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, 6. And Gopaswami also, of course, I presume. Yes, it's wonderful. You can read this Chaitanya Charitamrita over and over again. Srila Prabhupada, on his journey to America, he mentions this in his diary, isn't it? In his diary, he describes how, what is it he mentions in his diary? Who remembers?
The nectarine of his life.
Yeah, he's hearing the Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the nectarine of his life. This is sustaining him on his journey. We also are on a journey. You know, Srila Prabhupada as our acharyas, this is his sustenance, keeping him alive on the journey. So this, of course, by the grace of Kaviraja Goswami, Krsnadasa Kaviraja Goswami, and of Srila Prabhupada, of course. How this can be relished over and over and over again. It's ever fresh. And like all of the transcendental literatures, Chaitanya Charitamrita is ever fresh. Unlike mundane subject matters. One of the natures of bhakti ras, unlike mundane rasa or pleasure, bhakti rasa has unlimited, unending, you could say, ecstatic effect. So Krsnadasa Kaviraja Goswami, who, I'm not going to get into any of the detailed historical aspects particularly here today, but more perhaps some of the essential features of their coming in their service. But he was not very much actually as mentioned about his earlier life. Even no one really has ascertained whether he was married or not, which ashram he was in, which varna he was in. It was not understood clearly. But what was understood clearly was he was an eternal associate of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord. Can't remember, I think he's Kasturi. Kasturi Manjari, I can't remember, I think it's Kasturi. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. He's a Manjari. All three of these personalities are Manjaris in their eternal relationship with Radha and Krishna. So a significant event, or an event which is very significant to all of us, which is the pre-runner, you could say, for the manifestation of Chaitanya Charitamrita, is his devotion to Gaur Nitai. He worshipped both Gaur and Nitai as being non-different in one sense, simultaneously one and different. Same personality appearing in two forms. And one day in his home, he'd arranged a festival. Sometimes it's said a constant kirtan festival, kirtan mahotsav, chanting the holy names round the clock. So one person attended that festival. He had a priest there. His name was Gunaraj Khan. Gunaraj Khan was a devotee, but maybe not so advanced, but he was a devotee. And he was the priest at this festival, during the pujas. And one great devotee of Lord Nityananda came to the festival. His name was Miniketana Ram Das. Like many of Lord Nityananda's associates, he was quite eccentric. he also used to play the flute. And he came to this festival. And when he came, because he was, in one sense, non-different than Lord Nityananda. He was one of his eternal associates. But this Gunaraj Khan didn't even budge an eye when he came in. So Miniketana Ram became angry, strange, in a sense, because he said, now we see another form of Romaharshana. You may have read in the Bhagavatam how Lord Balaram killed that with a kusagras, Romaharshana. He killed him. Because Romaharshana didn't respect Lord Balaram. So similarly, he broke his flute on the spot and stormed out. So actually, Gunaraj Khan took it. He took the chastisement on himself and was a bit repentant for that mistreatment of Miniketana Ram. Not get into the details any more than that, but Kaviraja Goswami, brother, after the festival was over, was a little disturbed. He was supposedly a devotee also, but he was disturbed. And then they had a discussion why. Because Kaviraja Goswami's brother could not accept Lord Nityananda. He accepted Lord Chaitanya, but he didn't worship Lord Nityananda. So Kaviraja Goswami became very angry with his brother. How dare you? And you're also insulting Lord Nityananda. It's like the philosophy of half a chicken philosophy. How can you have a chicken? You have to have both the head as well as the rear part. You have to have the whole. You can't have one without the other. Better be an atheist, he told him, than to accept one and reject the other. And there was a heated debate, and that was that. So, in due course, on that very night, Krsnadasa Kaviraja Goswami had a dream, and in the dream, that same Lord Nityananda, not the same, Lord Nityananda appeared in his dream. And he could see he was also Lord Balaram, appeared in his dream. And he was very happy with Krsnadasa Kaviraj. So happy. And that he had spoken like this. And he told him he should leave immediately and go to Vrindavan, where all your wishes, everything will be fulfilled. All your needs will be fulfilled, everything. Go to Vrindavan. So Krsnadasa did. He left home, left wherever he was, his family, whatever that was, and he went to Vrindavan and stayed there for the rest of his life. So Lord Nityananda had a very significant part in this. Whilst in Vrindavan, Krsnadasa Kaviraj had the great opportunity, of course, to associate with the Goswamis. They were contemporaries. And especially with Raghunatha Das. Krsnadasa Kaviraj resided in Radhakund area, mostly, and sometimes Manasaganga. But there he heard from Raghunatha Das Goswami. And from the other Goswamis too, of course. Because Raghunatha Das Goswami had spent, after, that's the story over here in a minute, but he spent a long time in Jagannath Puri in the association of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami was the personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, and he was keeping a diary, one very detailed diary of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And he described everything, Swarup Damodar described it all to Raghunatha Das and asked him to put it to memory. So Raghunatha Das put that to memory, all the pastimes he heard from Swarup and whatever he saw with his own personal association with Mahaprabhu. And after the departure of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunatha Das came to Vrindavan and spent the rest of his life in Vrindavan, sharing those pastimes with the Goswamis. And Kaviraja Goswami particularly was hearing those pastimes. And then he was, of course, requested by the Goswamis, the residents of Vrindavan, to put them into a written format, because mostly they'd not been put into written format. Vrindavan Das Thakur had not described very much about Lord Chaitanya's later pastimes. So Kaviraja Goswami was requested to write on these pastimes. And by the grace of Madan Mohan, he went to pray to Madan Mohan for the empowerment. And Madan Mohan's garland fell when he was praying. And the priest put it around the neck of Krsnadasa Kaviraj. So there's a little insignificant, we could say, significant aspects of Krsnadasa Kaviraj Goswami's, very essential, very important. One, the necessity of receiving the order of Lord Nityananda, and two, the devotees receiving their order and following it. Taking the instructions of one's life and soul, as Prabhupada did the same thing, to publish the Srimad Bhagavatam, same thing, life and soul. And in regards to Srimad Bhagavatam, Raghunatha Bhatta. Raghunatha Bhatta was he was the son of Tapan Mishra. Tapan Mishra was in fact, surprisingly enough, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Bangladesh, where it was East Bengal in those days, on the guise of raising some money, he'd just gotten married to Lakshmi Priya, and he wanted to collect some funds, some wealth, in order to sustain his grihastha life. So he went to East Bengal, and exactly what the intention was financially, but his intention was not really that, but that's on the guise of that. But there whilst in East Bengal, he met Tapan Mishra, who was residing there. And Tapan Mishra's son, who was later to be Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, was maybe not born at that time, but he was born there in East Bengal. But Lord Chaitanya, the first time he manifested his mission was externally, was to Tapan Mishra. He taught him the Yuga Dharma, the glories of Nam Sankirtan. That was the first record of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is before he manifested this in Navadvip, before his initiation even. So Tapan Mishra was obviously a very special devotee. And Lord Chaitanya gave him the order to go to Varanasi, of all places. Varanasi, most of you probably know, is the seat of the Mayavadis. Mostly, predominantly Mayavad, Kashi, Lord Shiva's abode. So he went there with his family, and Lord Chaitanya said he would meet him there later on. So Lord was arranging for the future plan here. So he did, and when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually went to Varanasi, on his way to Vrindavan, and on his way back also, to convert the Mayavadis and to teach Lord Sanatana Goswami the science of devotional service. Whilst he was there, he stayed in the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, but he was taking his meals in the house of Tapan Mishra. So young Raghunath was getting a lot of opportunity to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Bhatta, that is. They were Brahmins by birth, Brahmins. So Raghunath Das, he wanted very much to go, after he grew up, to be in Jagannath Puri with Lord Chaitanya, so he left home at a certain point of time. There are many other things you could probably remember in relationship to this, but he went to Jagannath Puri and he stayed there for 8 months in Puri. with Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya, because he had all good association there, imbibing the teachings of Lord Chaitanya as well as the other associates of the Lord. And after 8 months, Lord Chaitanya asked him to go back home and look after his aging parents. And then he stayed home, and Lord Chaitanya said, stay there until they leave the world. So he did. He looked out. They were, of course, great pure devotees. So he stayed there, and when they left the world, he returned to Puri and stayed another 8 months. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him to Vrindavan to join the other Goswamis, to take shelter of Rupa and Sanatan. So Raghunath Bhatta went to Vrindavan. Whilst he was in Puri, he also had a great opportunity, of course, to hear from Gadadhar Pandit and others. Gadadhar Pandit was, let's say, amongst the associates of Lord Chaitanya, was especially renowned for his recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Raghunath Bhatta also became renowned in Vrindavan for his recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's said that he could recite it, so his voice apparently was so sweet, nothing could compare to it. Sometimes it would say, he would sing like a very sweet cuckoo. But he could sing in all kinds of meters. He would recite the Bhagavatam verses in different types of beautiful meters, so sweetly. It's meant to be beautifully recited. It's not just a ritualistic spiel, but it's meant to be recited nicely. Poetry, it's music. And the Goswamis would all relish hearing him speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Every day, for hours a day, he would speak on Bhagavatam. And he also, very close to Rupa Goswami, was like his spiritual master. And Rupa Goswami engaged him also in the building of the Radha Govinda Mandir. Not physically, but seeing that it was done. And he was also engaged, apparently, by Rupa Goswami in the beginning of the worship of Radha Govinda Ji as Pujari, worshipping Radha Govinda. So he is also Manjari. Raga Manjari. He was Raga Manjari in Krishna Lila. And his samadhi is there. 64 samadhis, I think his samadhi is there, near the Radha Govinda temple. And Raghunath Das, who is the most, in a Krishna, if we look in the Chaitanya, Raghunath Bhatta didn't want his name mentioned. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's briefly mentioned, but not much is said about him. And Raghunath Das, however, quite a lot is mentioned by Kaviraja Goswami. Raghunath Das was Kaviraja Goswami's, partly like his guru, partly speaking. He learnt all about Lord Chaitanya from Raghunath Das. So Raghunath Das, this is very long, because much information is revealed of his life. And he didn't come from a Brahmin family, unlike Raghunath Bhatta. Nobody knew which family Krsnadasa came from. But Raghunath Das was from a Vaishya type family. His father, Govardhan Majumdar, Hiranya Majumdar, anyway, one of them was his father. They lived in a village called Saptagram, I think. They lived in a village in Bengal, somewhere north of Calcutta. And they had a priest, Bhagavanacharya. He was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. They were very fortunate. And when Haridas Thakur came, after Haridas Thakur left the Benapole, after he delivered the prostitute there, Haridas Thakur came to that place where Govardhan and Aranya Majumdar were residing. And he spent some time there. And Raghunatha Das was a very young boy at that time. And he got a lot of association with Haridas Thakur. And you could say Haridas Thakur was his Siksha Guru in that sense. But he basically guided Raghunatha Das at that point. And of course Haridas moved on. But Raghunatha Das then, in due course of time, he appeared in this world about 1496 or something like that. And as a child, of course, he was raised in his family were very rich. They were big landowners, tax collectors, very rich, brought up in opulence, great opulence. His parents and uncle, they were actually devotees of Lord Chaitanya also. They were devotees. But they were a bit materialistic. They were described as materialistic devotees. But of course Raghunatha Das heard a lot about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was extremely eager to hear more and more and more. When Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, said that Raghunatha Das was able also to get a little bit of his association in Shantipur. And then when Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath Puri, after some time, and he returned back to Bengal. By this time, Raghunath was a grown man, grown youth, but he was mad to go and join Lord Chaitanya. But he was the only son, and he was, although they weren't exactly Kshatras, they were like landowners, were looked at as like kings, a Kayasta community in Bengal. They're considered to be Shudras, actually. But anyway, they're like kings. They own lots of land, they raise all the tax and so on. They work under the king. And there's lots of stories there how Raghunath was an expert businessman also, an expert diplomat to relieve his family from big problems. But we're not going there. So anyway, Raghunath Das was always trying to leave home to go to Jagannath Puri. He couldn't bear, after having had a little association with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and hearing all about him, he wanted to leave home. His parents were in great anxiety. Their only son kept trying to run away. They had many servants who would keep him tied up, keep him bound, or bring him back if he tried to escape. He couldn't get away, so the parents said, what to do with this boy? He's mad. He's mad. Well, I know what we can do. We will get him married. Good way to tie him down. So they were a very rich family. Raghunath was a handsome young man, very talented, all good qualities, expert diplomat, expert businessman, expert at everything. Very rich family. So it wasn't difficult to get a beautiful wife for him. So they said that she was more beautiful than Sachi, the wife of, in this case, the wife of Indradev. More beautiful, such beauty. So they thought that would definitely tie him down. But no, not at all. Raghunath was disinterested, even though his wife was more beautiful than the heavenly damsels. He had all the opulence you could think of. They were a very rich family. But nothing could tie Raghunath down. But again, Lord Chaitanya, when he was traveling to Vrindavan, some or another Raghunath Das managed to go and see him with many guards. Many guards were there. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, don't be like a madman. Go home. Go home and behave like a normal person. Pounds, shillings and pence. In your heart, that's another thing. You absorb in the service of Radha and Krishna, but externally you behave like an ordinary person. In due course of time, everything will, all your desires will be fulfilled. But now, for now, behave like an ordinary person. So he did. He went back to his home. There he behaved like a normal person, more or less. So his parents were a little more lenient. They thought, wow, looks like he's come to his senses. And they relaxed a little bit. So later on, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had sent Lord Nityananda to Bengal to preach. So Lord Nityananda Prabhu with his associates came very close to the home of Raghunatha Das in Panihati. They came there and they were on the banks. They're having a festival there in Panihati on the banks of the Ganga. And Raghunatha Das, of course, things were a little bit easier. He took advantage of this. And he went there to get the association of Nityananda Prabhu. And he came there. And from a distance, he paid his obeisances. Lord Nityananda was sitting on some kind of raised platform there. And from a distance, he could see someone offering obeisance. And the devotees with Lord Nityananda, many devotees were there. And that is Raghunatha Das offering obeisances. Oh, bring him here, you thief. Bring that thief here. He called him a thief. Because you could see it in different ways. Because generally thieves stay at a distance. They don't come very close. Usually they keep a little distance, one. And two, of course, his family, his parents, his father and his uncle have been misappropriating government funds, stealing it, basically. And Raghunatha Das, by his expertise, had bailed them out. So he was kind of an accomplice to the theft in one way. So a thief. He's a thief. Just joking. But that's not the real meaning of this. And we'll see in a minute. So then Raghunatha Das came forward, and I'm going to punish you, Lord Nityananda said. You're a thief. I'm going to punish you now. And he put his foot on Raghunatha Das's head, punished him. He said, I'm going to punish you further. Now you have to arrange a feast of Chiradoi Mahotsava, a feast of yogurt and chip rice for all of my associates here, everybody. Arrange it now. Raghunatha was in ecstasy. Being from a very rich family, and he had access to much wealth, he immediately arranged all kinds of Brahmins who appeared, all the various utensils, all the various ingredients. Everything was quickly brought together, and all the Brahmins were preparing this wonderful, wonderful chip rice. Some with yogurt, some with condensed milk, mixing it in huge clay pots, and so on and so forth. So he arranged this fantastic festival. And Lord Nityananda and his associates were all in bliss, experiencing this wonderful, joyful festival of Chiradoi Mahotsav, which is celebrated every year, something in June, I think. And Lord Nityananda was very pleased with Raghunatha Das. And he asked all the devotees to bless Raghunatha. That very soon, he would be released from the entanglement of material existence. And many several things took place. Anyway, that was a little incident. There were again Lord Nityananda's, you can say, influence by his association. That which was meant to happen took place. Everything is by the mercy of the Guru. Lord Nityananda is Adi Guru. So by his mercy, Raghunatha Das was also released in due course of time. Shortly after that, excuse me, Raghunatha became again quite impatient to go to Puri. So guards were there again. But on one occasion, by arrangement of Providence, it so happened, what was his name? The priest of the Raghunatha, one of the priests there, what was his name again? Not Bhagavanachara, another one. What was his name? Forgotten his name. Came there in the middle of the night, all divine arrangement, middle of the night, and he woke Raghunatha, who was sleeping in outer quarters in a Durga Mandap. All the guards were asleep for some reason. He woke him up and said he needed his help because the Pujari had left his service. There was no one to do the daily worship, so he needed him to come. Either to try to bring the Pujari back, to try to help him to, that was the excuse anyway. So he left with his spiritual master, Yadunandana Acharya. Yadunandana. They went in the dead of night through the forest. They left the house. So Raghunatha thought, oh, this is a great opportunity now. What an opportunity. He looked back, there were no guards. They'd all fallen asleep. Nobody. He was alone with his spiritual master, well, his priest, like his spiritual master. Sometimes said his spiritual master. And he assured his spiritual master, said, don't worry, I will go and convince your priest to come back. You don't need to stay. There's different stories here, but this is the one story. And so that Yadunanda went on, and Raghunatha Das took advantage of this. He disobeyed his spiritual master for a higher purpose. We have to be careful. He went the opposite direction, entered deep into the jungle, into the forest, carefully making sure there was nobody around, and he went through the jungles in the dead of night towards Puri. Of course, when the sun rose, all hell broke loose at home. Absolute panic. And guards were sent in every direction, but nowhere could they find it. They went to Janananda Acharya. He said, I don't know what happened. And he was with me, and then he went to bring the priest, but I don't know what happened after that. He's not with me. They were, at that time, all the devotees were going to Bengal for Rath Yatra. The priest called up with a party of Shivananda saying, but no Raghunatha, never heard of him. Where he is, we do not know. Oh, it was a terrible scene at home. What a terrible scene. The end of the world, practically. But Raghunatha Das was heading as fast as he could. It took him maybe 12 or more days to reach Puri. Through the jungles, he did hardly ate anything the whole time. He couldn't stop. He just was eager. There's nothing on his mind except to reach Puri and surrender at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So eventually he reached Puri, and when Lord Chaitanya saw him, of course, he recognized him immediately. I see, Lord Nityananda, his mercy has saved you now from the deep, dark well of family life. I won't give some of the descriptions of that deep, dark well, but he saved you from that deep, dark well. Lord Nityananda saved you. How did he save him? Well, by his mercy, by his punishment. We cannot approach Lord Chaitanya without the mercy of Lord Nityananda. We know that we have to pray and meditate on Lord Chaitanya, but it's by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, by the mercy of the spiritual master only, that we can attain Krishna. So why Lord Nityananda called him a thief? Said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is my property. He's not. He's my property. If you want him, you can only get him through me. You have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Otherwise, to go directly to Lord Chaitanya, as we saw with the brother of Krsnadasa, Kaviraja, it doesn't work. You have to go through Nityananda. Nityananda is the gateway to prem, to love of God. He's the gateway to Lord Chaitanya. So in this way, Raghunatha Das received the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and he was put under the shelter by Lord Chaitanya himself of Swarup Damodar. He became the Raghu of Swarup. He was always with Swarup, practically speaking, not always, but he was constantly under the shelter of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And he resided in Puri for the rest of his life, the rest of Lord Chaitanya's manifest time. Many years, many years, witnessing all the wonderful pastimes and hearing from Swarup Damodar. He lived every one of Lord Chaitanya's associates had a specific you could say, a specific part to play in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And Raghunatha Das, one of his main parts was pure renunciation. Pure renunciation. So was he coming from a very rich family? After a while, his family heard that he was residing there, realizing there's nothing more they could do. It was all over. He'd gotten Lord Chaitanya's grace now, and there's nothing they could do. So they were sending wealth for him regularly, and Raghunath was using this to host all the devotees. Nice prasadam. After a while that stopped, and he was begging at the Singadwara gate. After that stopped, he was just accepting whatever free food was there in the counters. There's personal reasons for all these things. Lord Chaitanya was pleased by this, by the way. And then after a while, he stopped doing that, and he was just going to the place where the leftover is the waste. That, sometimes we throw out the rice or something which has gone off, or it's just, burned or something. You throw it out somewhere into a pit somewhere. So he was going there, and he was sorting out the rice, washing it, and that was his sustenance. When Lord Chaitanya came there one day to see what was now going on, and he saw Raghunath there washing the rice and cleaning up the rice, he said, "What are you doing here? What happened? You used to invite us for a feast every day, but now I see you're feasting on your own. You're not inviting us anymore." And Lord Chaitanya tried to grab some of that rice, and Raghunath, "No, my Lord, this is not fit for you." And Lord Chaitanya grabbed it. He said, "I've never tasted such transcendently blissful prasadam in my whole life." So ecstatic prasadam. Transformed. So in this way he was residing there, but eventually after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure, he'd ordered him to go to Vrindavan. He gave him a Govardhan Shila and some conch shell necklace, whatever you call it, as his own personal property. These were worshipped by Lord Chaitanya. He gave them to Raghunath Das and told him he should go to Vrindavan in due course of time. So Raghunath Das did. He went to Vrindavan, but he was desiring to jump off the top of Govardhan Hill. I guess it was a bit higher. It's not so high. You could jump off probably, but it's not so high. But he was planning to give up his life. What's the use? Lord Chaitanya has left the world. But Sanatana Rupa, they told him otherwise, and then they kept him there in Vrindavan for the rest of his life. He stayed in Vrindavan, mostly residing at Radhakund, here and there, sometimes at Manasiganga also. And many things took place. He, Raghunath Das, was particularly, these three Goswamis particularly are listed. And Sanatana Goswami as a Sambandha Acharya, Rupa Goswami the Abhideya Acharya, and Raghunath Das the Prayojana Acharya. He's teaching the path to the highest perfection. Sanatana Goswami is giving all the Sambandha, all the foundation, the knowledge, the goals, the directions. Rupa Goswami is practically giving us you could say, especially in the form of, for us anyway, not just by any means, he's giving everything, but the path which leads to that fulfillment of that knowledge, that Sambandha. Raghunath Das is the manifestation of that fulfillment. Although they appear to be in the mood of sadhaka, practitioners, they're practicing devotional service in the topmost mood of spontaneous devotion, you could say. But they're practicing it in order to show the path to perfection. That what is the highest prayojana, Krishna Pamartha Mahan. The goal of all of our activities is Krishna Pamartha Mahan, to love Krishna. And this is a big topic which we only hear about, we have no realization of. But he's the manifestation of that perfection. But he's appearing as a practitioner, as if he's a sadhaka, hankering and considering himself the lowest of the low. And as do all the great devotees, particularly in this world, they're manifesting the mood. It's not so much the activity, but the mood in our activity. The whole purpose of our activity is to change our mood. It's not just to do things as if some magic thing takes place by chalking up numbers and doing this, that and the other. That has to be there as a foundation. But we don't live in foundations. The foundation must be there, structure must be there through Vaidhi Bhakti. But he's very much, he's also, you could say, the leaf of sadhana, or the practice of devotional service, has two sides. One is the Vaidhi Bhakti path, and one is the Raganuga path, spontaneous devotion. And they're supposed to go, Vaidhi Bhakti is supposed to evolve into Raganuga, spontaneous attraction. So Raghunatha Das is also considered amongst Lord Chaitanya's associates. We follow Raghunatha Das's path, Rupa Raghunath, as we see Krsnadasa Kaviraja ends every chapter by offering as obeisances to Rupa and Raghunath. The path and the goal, and the means to attain that goal are the, well, it's kind of a bit, you could say, esoteric, that's the very word used, internal esoteric path manifested by Raghunatha Das. And this is the path, some devotees, they try to practice the behavior, you could say, of a perfected soul under the direction of a pure devotee, but that is a very rare situation. The path given by Raghunatha Das is the internal path. And how is that manifested? We practice externally spiritual sadhana, and internally hearing, chanting, remembering are going on. Internally that meditation, or hearing in our case the holy name, trying to remember whatever it is. It may just be service at this point of time, trying to occupy our inner consciousness completely in one way or another in devotional service. And as gradually our heart becomes cleansed in this way, the manifestation, as we become free of anarthas, by the practice and by the absorption within, on the inner way, you could say, in service, on meditating on the service, meditating on the deity, meditating on the holy name, on the Shastra, on devotees, and so on and so forth, whatever is there within our practice, that gradually the heart becomes cleansed, and as the heart becomes freed of anartha, one becomes fixed in devotion. And in due course of time, because we're following, this only takes place, generally speaking, by the mercy of devotees, by the mercy of Krishna possible, usually by the mercy of devotees. Then naturally one's relationship with Krishna begins to manifest. This is the internal path, the path which our acharyas have focused upon in our line particularly. And it's not something which we speculate on, it's not something we try to implement, it's not something which we try to, what is it, tell me my swarup. It's not like that. It manifests naturally when the heart is cleansed. Nityasthita Krishna Prem Sadhu Kabanai Shravanada Shuddha Chitte Kali Udai. Is a natural awakening, just like the sun. When the sun rises, everything becomes clear. Because it's already there in our consciousness, that love of God, and it naturally awakens as the heart becomes purified. And then that's confirmed by the eternal associates of the Lord. Then they give us guidelines to practice on that platform. It's not something which is premature, it manifests, it awakens within the heart. So that's Raghunatha Das. Externally, he's showing the method for that awakening, and we see even in Vrindavan, he was undergoing all kinds of austerities. He was practically not eating. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We follow our spiritual master's path, instruction of spiritual master. We're not on that level anyway. We're Vaidhi Bhaktis, trying to become sadhakas, trying to practice devotional service. We may be neophytes, Those neophytes, we're not very advanced. Kanistas, whatever we are. Offensive, whatever we are. And to purify us of this, let's say, immaturity, or to help us to mature, we have to cultivate devotional service under the direction of an eternal associate of the Lord. If we want to rise to that platform of pure devotional service. So we can imagine how fortunate we are. Srila Prabhupada and all of our acharyas are giving us this opportunity to cultivate devotional service under their shelter. We take shelter, that's another aspect of smearing the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees all over oneself or one's body. We embrace those instructions as our life and soul. By embracing those instructions, then all impediments will be removed. As Lord Nityananda said to Krsnadasa Kaviraja, all impediments will be removed. By embracing those instructions of the spiritual master as our life and soul, it's called an austerity, penance, and that's how one attracts the attention of the Lord, by performing penance. Not by doing what we want, or avoiding what we don't necessarily like, but following the wish of the spiritual master, trying to mold our lives on that principle. And that's what awakens, or rather attracts, the attention of Krishna. And then he removes the anarthas within our heart. Shushushroshtadanasya Vasudeva Katarachi. An attraction for hearing and chanting awakens in our heart when those anarthas are removed. Natural attraction awakens towards hearing and chanting about Krishna, and taste, everything else comes in due course of time. So they show us the means where that can naturally awaken. Raghunatha, when he was in Radhakund, he was circumambulating Radhakund every day, taking bath 3 times a day. In the Kund, we don't necessarily do that if our spiritual master may have given us a different direction. But he was bathing in Radhakund, and he's on the highest platform of pure devotional service. He's Rasa Manjari in the spiritual realm, sometimes known as Rati Manjari also, in the eternal associates of the Lord. Very special situation. And he was paying obeisances every day to the deity or the Lord in his heart at least 1,000 times a day, and 2,000 times to Vaishnavas. Every single person who would enter, he would pay obeisances, at least within his heart. And he was paying Dandavat Parikrama of Radhakund every day, as well as chanting 64 rounds. He also compiled several books, Mukta Charita and what's the other one called? 2 other books. You remember them, Goswami? The books of Raghunatha Das. And we have, of course, Manashiksha, that was compiled by Raghunatha Das, Manashiksha, and also Valapakusamanjali, which is presently being presented by Shivaram Swami Maharaj with commentaries, etc. And other books by Raghunatha Das he was also writing, revealing the inner path of devotional service. He was so absorbed in his service and association under the shelter and guidance of Rupa Goswami also. And Rupa Goswami is the head. He's the immediate assistant of Lalita Devi, and all the other manjaras work under him. So under Rupa Goswami he was performing these activities. And when he was, there's some nice little stories which we'll cap on. When he was in Manasi Ganga, one time Sanatana Goswami was performing his bhajan mostly in Manasi Ganga. And Raghunatha Das was there for a while performing his hearing, chanting, worship, bhajans and so on. And he had no bhajan, he had no kutir. He had no bhajan kutir. He was just open in the open air. So, and there was a wild jungle in those days, not like now. There was no town or anything like that. It was a jungle. It was pretty jungly even 40, 50 years ago. But then it was all jungle, practically. Tigers were there, so many dangerous animals. So he was sat there on the banks of Manasa Ganga, and there were tigers right nearby. And Sanatana Goswami noticed this from a distance. What is this? Then he saw Krishna standing nearby, basically keeping the tigers away. What is this? And he kind of mildly chastised Raghunatha. What is this, you know? You're sitting here performing your bhajan. And very dangerous, there are tigers nearby. Don't just think Krishna will protect you. You should, why should we engage Krishna like this? You should make the arrangement. Don't just say Krishna will protect you. Make an arrangement. You should have a kutir. Raghunatha wasn't too interested in all this external things. So he went to Radhakund. So he was still sitting there on the... Radhakund to them was just a little pond. It was not like now. Lord Chaitanya discovered Radhakund and Shamakund, but they were just two little ponds. He would sit there chanting. And in the middle of the hot season, blazing hot sun, no shelter, he was sat there. The sun was beating down on him. He was so absorbed in his internal devotion to Radha and Krishna. He was oblivious to the fact that he was literally getting burned by the powerful sun. So Sanatana happened to be coming by again, and he saw, he's still not built his kutir. Dear me. Then suddenly he saw, my goodness, what's happening here? He saw Radharani was stood there, holding her sari over Raghunatha Das's head to protect him from the sun. And she herself was sweating like anything. And that, when he came close, Radharani unmanifested herself. He started to chastise him. This is too much. First you engage Lord Krishna. Now our worshipful Radharani. No way, you must build a kutir. So then okay. So then they arranged for a kutir. And of course he was very Radhakund, Shamakund, was Raghunatha Das's special seva to Radhakund and Shamakund, to Radha and Krishna. All by the arrangement of the Lord, that rich merchant, Seth, his name was Seth, had so much wealth he wanted to donate it in Bhadrakrashram, but Badaranayan appeared to him in a dream, said, no, go to Vrindavan, give all of that wealth to Raghunath Das, and he will use it for the renovation of Radhakund and Shamakund. So he did. He went to there, and he was told that if he says no to it, just tell him, I've told you to do this. So the merchant went there and offered all this wealth to Raghunath Das and convinced him that this is the desire of Radharani and Krishna. These kunds should be renovated with nice ghats on them, everything nice. So he did. He engaged people in building the kunds, beautiful Radhakund and Shamakund, odd shape because the Pandavas were residing there. It's another story, in the form of trees. So they had to make it around the trees. And Raghunath Das, in this way, was serving Radharani and Krishna as a manjari. And he spent the rest of his life there in this seva. He was so attached. I mean, as you heard probably many times, there is spiritual competition. There are, in this world we have political parties. We have all kinds of competitions in this world. Transcendental competition is there to increase or enhance the excitement, to enhance the pleasure of the Lord. So you have Chandravali's party and Radharani's party, and they're always opposed to each other. So one day there was one devotee there in Radhakund, and it just goes by the name Das, but Raghunath Das was just eating once every few days a poundful of buttermilk. That was his only foodstuff, and hardly sleeping an hour or two, if that, a day. So he was just taking a tiny morsel of buttermilk, practically. And he was taking a leaf cup. And one day, this Das was in a place called Sakistali. Sakistali happens to be where Chandravali, that's her base, her base camp. And he saw these beautiful leaves there, big leaves, very big. So he got some of these leaves and brought buttermilk in these big leaves. He was bringing the buttermilk for Raghunatha Das regularly. So he brought these big leaves, and Raghunatha Das saw these leaves and said, wow, where have you obtained these wonderful leaves? And then he told him. Raghunatha Das took the leaf and just threw it on the ground. Angry, how dare you do this? How dare you go to the camp of Chandravali? And we will not touch anything from that place. He was human, he's so chaste in his service to Radha Krishna. Anyway, this is Raghunatha Das teaching us we can imitate, we follow, following the footsteps, whatever sadhana we've been given. We follow that, but we don't just stick with the, we want to change our hearts. The purpose is to change our hearts, not just to do things, expect some kind of magic wand to flash. We have to, desire a change of heart. Even if we don't know what to do about it, at least we have to desire a change of heart. All those rotten material desires, those envious feelings towards others, those lusty desires, those, proud, attached to our nonsense perception of the world, attached to stupid concepts, attached to science, attached to all kinds of crazy things, attached to our body, attached to our mind. We have so many attachments. Attached to our sleep, attached to everything you can think of except for Krishna, practically. Okay, that may be what it is, but at least we have to desire a change. Desire a change. And with that sincere desire, then one by one we pray and hope that some changes will take place in our hearts by the mercy of Lord Nityananda and the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Changes may take place in our hearts. Srila Raghunatha Das Goswami ki jai. If you go to Radhakund, there is the samadhi of Raghunatha Das there on the banks of Radhakund. Exactly, it's an amazing atmosphere. Kaviraja Goswami samadhi is also, I think, on the banks of Shamakund, and also in Radha Damodar temple, like that. Srila Raghunatha Das Goswami ki jai, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami ki jai, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, whose grace alone has made whatever little tiny access we may have available. Let's not waste that little opportunity. To take that opportunity is very rare, and reminding us of life's goal. Try to focus on the goal and work towards it. The whole purpose at our stage, Cetodarpanamajam, is the change of heart. By exposing ourselves to that transcendental sound vibration, try to hear the sound, try to hear with faith that by sincerely trying to hear the sound, the heart will change by the grace of Krishna, and if we so desire, we have to have the desire. Don't be lazy. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Premanand. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. It's not a fast day today, is it? Not a fast day. No, okay. And we're just serving one little leaf plate of buttermilk in the leaf cup. Hare Krishna.